We're now live.
At this time, I call the Hampton County Council meeting to order for September 16th, 2024 at 6 o'clock p.m. For item number 2, we have the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Councilwoman Knox will give the invocation, and I will do the pledge of allegiance along with the audience. So, can you hear me?
Better.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So if will please stand for the invocation and also for the pledge of allegiance.
Lord God, we come together tonight to do the county's business. Help us do so in a way just like you, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, are of one body. Let us, the 4 members of this council, and the public work together towards solvency and ethical governance, together and in your name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, and you may be seated. Our next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Hampton County Council, September 16th, 2024, meeting agenda. I've had a chance to look over it. I didn't see anything that needs to be deleted or added on my part. How about other council people, council members? Is there anything that needs to be deleted or added that you know of? If not, then what is the pleasure of council?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
A motion has been made and been properly second. Are there any further discussion on this? If not, all those who are in approval of the Hampton County Council September 16th, 2024 meeting agenda, show it by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? We're now on item number 4, the approval of the minutes. These are the meeting minutes of the August 19th, 2024 County Council meeting. I hope that all council members had a chance to review the minutes. With that being said, what is the pleasure of council?
Chair, make a motion that we approve August 19th, 2024 minutes as printed.
Second.
A motion has been made, has been properly second. Any questions? If none, all those who are in approval of the meeting minutes of August 19th, 2024 County Council meeting, show by will approve by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Thank you very much. We're now on item number 5, presentations. 5.1, we have a presentation on 46 reasons to celebrate South Carolina. Mr. Darrell Russell, at this time.
Good evening, council, administrator, and guests. My name is Darrell Russell. Live in Yemassee, Hampton County. Thank you. I've been selected by the State Fair Committee to represent Hampton County. As you see in the handout that I gave you, if you would look at that, please, that's the logo that they're offering. It's a state exhibit at the State Fair called 46 Reasons to Celebrate South Carolina. And this is their exhibit. They have put the open call out to all 46 counties to attract artisans of all medias to represent each county. And it was an open roll call, and I was selected by that committee. Included in that is my letter to the State Fair and her request Historical Society, and Friends of the Arts. Or receive items that reflect Hampton County and the grace that she has. I think that should be our vision. I come before you today to ask your support in adding to what we can show all that Hampton County has to offer. Not many people know that our beautiful Palmetto Theater marquee is number 7 of the best marquees in the state of South Carolina by Southern Living Magazine. Number 7. I think that's very beautiful marquee. I have many pictures of it myself. But at the moment, I'm looking for your support, and I'm also looking for your networking to assist me in getting Brunson, Estill, Hampton, and Barnville on board as well. I can't do this alone. This is a community project that we should all take pride in. And at this time, I'm not sure if my cell phone will pick it up. This is not self-promotion. I would like to share a portion of the song. You can tell, just give me a signal, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
when to stop it. It's over 2 minutes, but you can tell me to stop it early. But I want to give you a little piece of the song that did get me this selection to represent Hampton County. The song is called Yemassee. I'm also working on another song which I will reflect to after this.
Look up to the mic.
Very strange, I sound just like that guy. As you can tell, that was professionally recorded, and again, it's not self-promotion, it's available, that song is available. I'm gonna be transparent, is the word of the day, I guess. I made $14 on that song in the past year. $14, that's it. So people wanna know, well, Mr. Russell, you wrote that song for the embassy, and what are you gonna do for Hampton County? Well, I'm working on it, and I hope to have it ready for the state fair, and if I can put on my additional eyes, Brunson, this is called Hampton County SC. Brunson, quaint little town, and then some, Rosenwald School and Town Hall Octagon. Those that leave come back again, back home to Brunson. Then there's Estill, just down and over the hill. Sawmills and Bull Durham stand tall still. Holds many events and often filled down home in Estill. We have Hampton, it's our county seat, grown from just a watermelon seed, home to men and women who filled a need. Yeah, that's our county seat. Varnville once made time stand still. Forrest Gump made the king of the hill, forever saved in Hollywood film. Proudly talking about Varnville. Yemassee, four corners of the Low Country. Rosenwald School and Dr. May. Amtrak still stops there twice a day. Plenty to do around Yemassee. Let me tell you about Hampton County. There's farms and towns and a movie marquee. Formed by annex from Beaufort County. More importantly, it has you and me, where we call home Hampton County. That's my next song. It's gonna get music to it. I'm working on it right now. I think it really touches everybody. And that's what this is about. This is a community effort for everybody. This is not my exhibit. This is a state exhibit that I get to be part of, and I've never, ever been to a state fair before, and now I'm part of a state fair exhibit. With that, council, we have the history of M. Benjamin McSweeney being the only governor from Hampton County. And I learned that going to the Historical Society. I hope to get his picture in there. I'd like to ask for your help in networking, and if you have a personal item that you would like to loan, I will gladly bring it home safely and re-deliver it to you. But this is a community effort, and we really need something from Hampton County. I appeal to you, council, to please help us show the grace and the good of our county, and let's change the narrative. That's what my goal is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russell, for being a representative of Hampton County at the upcoming South Carolina State Fair. I asked Clerk of Council, Ms. Moore, if you would get with Ms. Lappridge. If you would get with Ms. Lappridge, can you hear me now? Actually, it's almost in my mouth. Okay, thanks. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. If you would get with Ms. Joanne Lappridge, there is a box. The box is in her office that has quite a few Hampton County artifacts in it. And look through it and see what we can provide Mr. Russell to show some representation of Hampton County as a whole. If you would.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, from the Watermelon Festival, I believe I'm getting a street banner to hang on the side of that wall unit that you see for display. I'm getting a picture of the current high school and the new high school from the superintendent, Dr. Wilcox, for the schools. The Historical Society is giving me flyers to bring tourism down. And again, one of the things I didn't say, this is absolutely free advertising for tourism. And I tried to imply that to the Sheriff's Department as well, because they can give me a flyer for recruiting, and I think it would be picked up quite well. That's where I'm at, and I appreciate standing before you. Thank you for your time.
Any questions for Mr. Russell?
Just a quick question. I see the shelf display.
Yes, ma'am.
How close will the public be able to get to that in case we have?
That, I don't have that actual detail yet. As a matter of fact, I have offered to be there several days. I will perform several times during each day. And it is in an exhibition building. That's all I do know. And there will be a free-to-take table for any information flyers, like the Watermelon Festival plans are giving me stuff. The public can take those. As to how close they can get to that, I don't know, but I would hope it's not that close.
Yeah, we're sending artifacts. I'm sure that the people who would donate those for display would want to know that information as well.
Yes, working on that, I am
Absolutely,
working on that.
absolutely. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else?
If you have any other questions for Mr. Russell, on behalf of Hampton County Council, thank you for allowing us to hear that presentation and of the, song as, it pertains to democracy, and look forward to hearing one that pertains to Hampton County, so thank you very much.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing, a response from your clerk regarding when I can look at what you have. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We're now on item number 6, public hearings. At this time, we have none. Item number 7, public comments. If someone would,
Until they call me, wait till they call you. They call you in.
The first one is for Mr., I'm not sure if it's Mr. or Ms. Fennell.
Microphone, that's it. Mr. James.
Okay.
My name is James Fennell, citizen of Hampton County, all my life, 44 years. Okay. I bought a piece of property down on Yamasee Highway 183. And after buying it, I came out and tried to find some markings as to how much, where the lines stop. And I went to the auditor's office, I went to the clerk of court, and I couldn't find any kind of markings. So I went to Google, and Google them up, told me how much property that the railroad had. There was 50 feet on both sides, a total of 100. And so I went and laid out and got the property all cleaned up, thousands of dollars to clean it up. So only just a paper that from the county showing where the land was, no markers as to where it ended. They told me it was a deed requires a half acre. And we went out, and once I got it cleaned up completely, got the building and put on it, then the railroad left a sign on it, says you own our property. You had 30 days to move, or we'll move it. And the administrator at Yamasee told me that he would work with us to try to get it done. And that has not happened yet. He told me September 1st. And so I'm just trying to figure how is it kind of sell a piece of property when there's no markers, who knows where it is, no kind of plaque. But they sold it to me, and I know 1948 I was around, remember the folks who members of my family was in part of the committee that made it a consumer's market there. But there's no plat at either one of those places, so I'm just trying to figure out what should I do, how can I handle it? The only thing I thought of was if the railroad say I'm on their property, and they would move it. If I didn't move it in 30 days, they would move it. And so the only thing I know now, personally, is to let the railroad move it. Hopefully they move it on my property and not take it somewhere else. Because I've got thousands of dollars. And I don't know if the council probably doesn't know, but it's a dark patch there of pine trees and all kinds of trees, a whole swimming pool and all that. I had to close in, move a church that, they allowed a church on it, had to move it. And so I'm really in debt for it. But I still don't have any markers as to exactly where it is. And so I wish the county could help me with that. Why is it when we have property, we sell it and don't have any plaque to it to tell exactly where it is? It sounds like the thirties and the forties. So that's what I came today to tell you. I'm in debt for thousands of dollars trying to get a place to operate a consumer's market, another consumer's market back into Yamasee.
Just say, any questions for Mr. Fennell, on council?
Mr. Fennell, how did you come to buy this property? Did you buy it privately?
I bought it from the tax collector.
Okay,
Tax,
okay.
tax,
I don't know if you guys
And-
can discuss, but I got a question. How is that done when the county redeems property from tax sale? I mean, when we redeem property to sell on a tax sale, we sell it as is, or we responsible for his question?
I guess my question, Councilman Jinks, would be, when the county sold this property, was it someone who was delinquent on their taxes?
Right.
Property that the county, incurred, okay? And if so, the county, my understanding now, we need to talk with our auditor, on this here, and also, treasurer, most likely, but definitely our auditor, as to when property is being sold, especially also our delinquent tax person, as to when property is being sold, only thing the county is concerned about is getting the taxes that, is owed to them, owed to us. But as for the legal ramifications behind it, I would ask that, our county administrator, Mr. Volumes, if he would, look further into it. I know this sounds more like a legal matter, when you're dealing with property, and apparently, from what I'm hearing from Mr. Fennell, the railroad seem to have something to show where their line is. And
My initial thought would be to reach out to the railroad and ask them to produce documentation as such. And I'll also follow up with the auditor and the assessor for the county.
if you would give Mr. Fennell, name and number and phone, and he would, follow up with it, and, get that, as the guidance.
I'll get you information.
Okay.
Thank you for, thank you, Mr. Fennell.
Ms. Linda Kelly, logo expenses and other matters.
You'll have to forgive me, my mouth is very dry for medication that I'm taking, so just bear with me. $45,707.19 for hotel expenses from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2024. That's a whole lot of lollygagging at the county's expense. And, after experts have warned county council members over a year ago that the best option to do was to cut travel expenses, but that was, it just went to deaf ears. Nobody really, had any regard for those, good common sense approaches. But that would have been a way to help the county regain financial solvency. The councilmen, Mark Hollingsworth, J.J. Jenkins, and Darren Williams are okay with cutting the sheriff's budget and making do with no ambulance service to transport critical patients to specialized trauma centers like MUSC, Buford Memorial, etc. Also, I don't know if the logos were let out for bid. If they were, it doesn't matter. It's still an expense that the county should not really take on at this point. We ought to be focusing on the things that matter, and that is the cuts that have been, reduced reducing the safety and welfare of the citizens of Hampton County. I don't know that you are aware of, hopefully you are, of all the struggles that most of the consumers in this county are undergoing at this point, with insurance increases for cars and for homes, for groceries, for just getting to work, on a daily basis. You just don't seem to have any kind of regard for what they are struggling with. I hope that you will reevaluate your decisions and use more common sense approaches rather than we're gonna spend like nobody's business, like a bunch of schoolboys led out into the mall with a newly, presented credit card from parents. That's not the way that our financial, that's no way to correct our financial situation. Thank you.
Any comments for Ms. Kelly? Thank you, Ms. Kelly, for your comments. Thank you very much.
Mr. Quincy Jones? Mr. Quincy Jones?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, a couple weeks ago, I, approached, the committee or the council about the fence issue I have over at the, at my property next to the airport. I haven't heard from anyone as of yet. I didn't see it on the agenda tonight, so I thought I'd ask, was there any questions that you have about the fence? Or maybe ask Mr. LeVar to come out and survey the property or see what this whole discussion is about. Basically, I'm just asking a question, is there anything else that I can do?
Do anyone have any questions, pertaining to Mr. Jones' request that he made at the last time he attended, council?
I'm sorry?
No, I'm asking
Oh,
council. I'm addressing council, any council members?
I would ask the attorney, how should we approach this?
Pardon?
How should we approach the question that Mr. Jones had?
You don't respond to public comments during the public comment section. If you choose to, fine, but this is a legislative body.
Yes, sir.
He has an attorney, by the way.
Yes. So, I guess that's your answer, Mr. Jones, is that, this is considered a legal matter, and we don't discuss legal matters in open session.
Okay, where does that leave us?
I haven't heard anything from your attorney to bring to these people.
I mean, I haven't approached an attorney about this as of yet. I didn't know that I needed
We have a
to.
pending action before the Court of Appeals.
No, this got nothing to do with the fire
Yes,
trucks.
it most certainly does. So, if you wanna have your guy contact me, I will present what he presents to me, to my counsel. I'll be glad to do that.
So they're not two separate issues.
I don't see
One's a gate,
how you have
and one's a fire truck on the airport runway.
I don't wanna get into a legal
Yeah,
discussion
okay.
with you about
Right,
this.
Attorney Solomon, I appreciate, the legal advice on this here. Mr. Jones, considering that this is a legal matter and, you have an attorney, I would suggest that anything pertaining to, the county and, the airport out there, with the attorney, is for your attorney to get in contact with our attorney.
Okay.
That'll work.
That's it.
That ends our public comments. Next, we're on item number 8, appointments. Appointment of Wise Lady Bank to the Hampton County Planning Commission.
Good evening, council. Christopher Lacey, deputy county administrator. Before you is an application for Mr. Batten to join our planning commission. We've had a vacancy on the planning commission. We had, two when I got here. We filled one, several months back. And Mr. Batten applied. The planning commission considered his application and recommends approval for Mr. Batten to sit on our
understanding, this here is a, recommendation from the Hampton County Planning Commission.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't see where we have a ballot for this here, but we can actually vote on this here orally. So, anyone have any questions on, the recommendation of the Hampton County Planning Commission with the appointment of, Wise HVAC? Anyone have questions on it? With that being said, what is the pleasure of council?
I move to vote to, accept Mr. Wise Batten to the Hampton County Planning Commission.
Second.
A motion has been made and has been properly second. Any further discussion? All those who are in approval of the appointment of Wise H. Batten to the Hampton County Planning Commission, show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Thank you very much. We're now on item number 9, approval of items requiring council action. We have none at this particular time. We're now on item number 10, resolutions, proclamations, 10.1, resolution 2024-03 committee to reinstate the South Carolina 250 Hampton County Committee for South Carolina, centennial activities. Anyone speak on this resolution?
I am, sir. I'm submitting a request to reinstate the committee. Just to give you a little context, Hampton County participate in the upcoming celebration of the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. The SC 250 American Revolution Centennial Commission is offering several grant opportunities designed to support communities, organizations, and counties across South Carolina. So that's grant opportunities for the county in various ways as it relates to grounds, buildings, really beautifying the county in relation to the Revolutionary War and other components. But I'm seeking approval to kick off that committee again so we can get some things done. Some of the grant categories in relation to this is museum and library exhibits, historical tourism, which is absolutely important to the county, research, publications, education programs for our children, and really celebrate our history. The goal for this county is to celebrate all aspects of our history. And I'll be asking council to seek approval for this committee.
Any question for our county administrator and council? Any questions?
Excuse me, may I ask a question?
No, ma'am, we're in a session with county council at this time. Thank you for the interest. Is there any that council want to speak on this here? Okay, what is the pleasure of council?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the resolution and proclamation 10.1.
And I second.
A motion has been made, has been properly seconded. Any further questions? All those who are in approval of the resolution 2024-03?
I think Councilman Jenks raised his hand.
No, they just want to approve, I'm reserved.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take the same thing back, we hit it down low. So all those who are in approval of the resolution 2024-03, committed to reinstate the South Carolina 250 Hampton County Committee for South Carolina Centennial Activity, show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Thank you very much. We're now on item number 10.2, committing to negotiate a fee in lieu of tax, a fee in lieu of, tax agreements between Hampton County and Project Truck, identify the project and other matters related to thereof. Who's gonna speak on this? John Fleming, the South Carolina Mines.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. John Fleming, of South Carolina. This is the first of a few things on the agenda related to Project Truck. This is an adjustment resolution, and we would request that you approve this of it as we go through, and then also we'll have a discussion in executive sessions.
Any questions to ask of Mr. Finley at this time?
Nothing changed since the last discussion.
No, sir.
With that being said, what's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the resolution for Project Truck fee in lieu of ad valorem.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been properly second. Any further discussions? If not, all those who are approval of committing to negotiate a fee in lieu valorem, tax agreement between Hampton County and Project Truck, identifying the project and other matters related to thereof, show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We're now on item number 11, ordinances. Third reading of ordinances, we have none at this time. 11.2, second reading of ordinances. We have the second reading of the ordinance for the sale of land in the Hampton County Regional Industrial Park for the sale of approximately 50 acres for Project Truck.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, again, this is a continuation of Project Truck. This is for the land sale within the park. First reading was titled only last month, and the documents have been provided for second reading. We request approval.
Any questions for Mr. Clinton? With that being said, what's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve second reading of an ordinance for the sale of land.
Second.
A motion has been made and properly second. Any further discussion from council members? If none, all those who are in approval of the second reading of the ordinance for the sale of land in the Hampton County Regional Industrial Park for the sale of approximately 50 acres for Project Truck, show your approval by raising your right hand. All those who oppose, all those who abstain. Thank you very much. We're now on item number 11.3, first reading of ordinances. Our first one is the first reading of an ordinance for the establishment of a Hampton County, South Carolina opioid recovery funds committee. Anybody is speaking on this?
I am, sir. Opioid funds have been flowing in the county for quite some time now. This is a request to select a committee to establish and oversee the Hampton County opioid recovery funds, ensuring transparent and responsible allocation of funds. This committee will include representatives from various sectors, including local government, public health, law enforcement, mental health professionals, and community advocates. Currently, funds come into the county as pass-through funds, so this committee ensures we're doing everything we're supposed to do, and those funds flow to the correct entities as such. And this draws back to audit findings, ensuring that funds are tracked appropriately and getting to where they're supposed to go. So this is one way how we ensure that happens in the county, specific to the opioid funds.
Any questions for our county administrator?
How's it being dispersed right now?
Currently, we are in partnership with New Life Center. They're on the grounds providing services for us. And we have, Ms. Suzanne, you wanna add some context? We have fire and EMS folks handing out syringes. We have our solicitor. Funds flow through our general fund to him to ensure that services are provided on the legal side. So there's several touch points that money's coming into the county. I wanna make sure those monies get to where they're supposed to be. This is the best practice effort to try to get this moving the right way.
Is this by title only or?
Yes, sir.
By title only, okay. Any further questions for our county administrator? With that being said, what's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve first reading on the
made, is there a second?
I second.
Has been properly second. Any further discussion? All those who are in approval of the first reading of the ordinance for the establishment of the Hampton County, South Carolina opioid recovery funds committee, show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Our next first reading is of the ordinance providing for the issuance of general obligation bonds in one or more series, tax exempt or taxable, provide more advantageous terms and refinance current indebtedness and finance certain capital expenditures and vehicle purchases, authorize the exploration of bond funding alternatives to provide the county with maximum repayment flexibility, providing for borrowing in anticipation of the issuance issuance of the bonds and other related matters by title only. Is it something that you can explain?
We have legal representation here today.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of council. My name is Ray Jones. I'm with Parker Poe out of Columbia. Pleased to be here tonight. Good to see some old friends. And so we have now been working with the county over the past several months. We serve as bond counsel to cities and counties all over the state, working with your administrator and Mr. Inglesi. We're looking at options to give the county greater flexibility in its debt profile. And so tonight is the first step. This doesn't obligate the county to do anything, but it does give the county some flexibility to explore options. I will be glad to answer any questions. Again, I'm Ray Jones with Parker Poe.
Any questions for Mr. Jones?
This proposal just opens up, I'm sorry, sir, yes, I do.
You sure?
This proposal just opens up the options.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In
Those
both
options.
places.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions? Council? So this is the first read by title only. What's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we, accept the first reading by title only of the order providing insurance, general obligation bond.
A motion has been made, is there a second?
Second.
Has been properly second. All those who are in approval of this ordinance, show it by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now on, C of the first reading of ordinances. First reading of the ordinances authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of ad on preliminary taxes and incentive agreement by and between Hampton County, South Carolina, and the company currently known to the county as Project Truck to provide for payment of a fee in lieu of taxes, authorizing certain infrastructure credits, approving the addition of property to an existing multi-county park in Bamberg County, South Carolina, Allendale County, South Carolina, and other related matters. Who's coming before council?
Mr. Chairman, members of council, John Fleming again. Again, this is Project Truck, and this is to move the fee in lieu forward. The request approval.
And is this also by title only?
No, this, they submitted documents.
Okay, Dr. Something, so, okay. Any questions for Mr. Fleming at this time?
Mr. Fleming, nothing to do with just this project. But how do we choose the counties we partner with?
So Hampton County is what's known a quad county park agreement. So you're already in an
receive our fair share? We,
Counties and the auditors work with Department of Revenue, who sets those fees. They're working with the county. And, Mr. Jones can probably answer that part of it, but primarily the Department of Revenue sets the fees based on their audit of the value that is in place. And then the host county generates the bill to the industry. And then we receive that, and they are to split that with the counties.
Any further questions?
sir.
So what is the pleasure of council?
Yeah, I make a motion that we accept Exhibit C.
And I second.
Motion has been made, has been properly second. Any further discussions? If none, all those who are in approval of the first reading of this ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes in the central agreement by and between Hampton County, South Carolina, and a company currently known to the county as Project Truck to provide for payment of a fee in lieu of taxes, authorize certain infrastructure credits, approve the addition of property to an existing multi-county park in Bamberg County, South Carolina, Allendale County, South Carolina, and other related matters. Show your approval by raising your right hand. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We're now on item number 12, council's briefing. Item 12.1, council briefing, chairman's update. The few things I want to bring to the attention of, council members, as it relates to, information that I have received, recently. First of all, I want council to be aware that Southern Carolina Alliance, on behalf of Hampton County, has requested $525,500 in utility tax credits, known as UTC, for the continued efforts to improve and expand the Southern Carolina Industrial Campus Park Parade Phase 2 in Early Branch from Palmetto Electric Co-op, which is their community affairs and economic development. So I want the council to be aware of that. I received some information pertaining to that. The next item is the South Carolina Association of Counties Institute of Government. Their fall advocacy meeting will be held in Columbia, South Carolina on October 16th through 17th. If you haven't already, you need to give it Ms. Orr, our clerk of council, if you plan to attend. That's only if you plan to attend. Next item I have is, clerk of council office has moved to the vacant office space as you enter the county administration building at the front door on your immediate left. So, she's still, moving, items over to that area, into that office. So she'll be working out of both offices right now until she, completely have everything moved from the office that she's currently in and move into the new office as she enters the county administration building, over on the left, first building on the left. And lastly, the Shrimp Festival 2024 parade applications is available if you plan to participate, and Ms. Orr has the applications. So that concludes my, council briefing from the chair. At this time, I ask that, Ms. Councilwoman, Knox, if she has any information that she wants to share with council at this time.
I do, I actually printed up some reports.
Sure.
And we can share these. I am now liaison to the Economic Development Commission, and I'll just read what I wrote up. On August 20th, 2024, the Hampton County Economic Development Commission met in the administrative building. Items discussed included the Ag and Art Tour, which is a statewide initiative in conjunction with Clemson University. It is a free, self-guided tour of farms and markets meant to showcase all that rural South Carolina has to offer and to boost rural businesses. The focus is on farm-to-table food and artists. We did most of our neighboring counties did. That would be Bamberg, Barnwell, Allendale. The EDC is looking forward to participating next year in 2025. We also discussed another Clemson program led by Don Stuckey. The Hampton County Junior Leadership Program exposes high school students to all kinds of industry and business with monthly field trips to learn about that type of business on site. Sponsorship opportunities are available to local businesses or individuals to support this program. And I encourage you to reach out to Dawn for information about that. Our Southern Carolina Alliance items discussed included the Drive and Poll networking event on October 17th, and the 7 active projects and 8 active leads for industry currently being handled by SCA on behalf of the county. On a note intrinsically linked to the EDC, but specifically concerning SCA, it has been brought to my attention that we have not paid any of our SCA dues for the 2024 calendar year. Those dues are $15,000 a quarter, so we currently owe them $45,000, plus an additional $1,946.80 from when they covered travel costs for one of our councilmen to go to Washington, D.C. In late May of this year. Another $15,000 will be due in November to cover the fourth quarter. LeVar, do we have plans to cover those?
Yes.
Okay.
We do.
Okay. And when can they?
Right now, we are managing invoices to the TAN is approved. This month, like months in previous years, our dry months for the county, where invoices are balanced based on cash on hand. So every 2 weeks, I see if I can pay my bills, and with invoices I can pay, so I manage my invoices from that perspective.
Fair enough. We'll circle back to the TAN in a minute, if that's okay. While we're on the subject of travel expenses, I tallied $7,203.97 in travel and hotel expenses listed under accounts payable from the county website in January and February of this year. After that, it looks like most of the hotel expenses were listed under individuals' names. I was able to kind of line that up with what I knew that the SCARE conference was, et cetera, and various other trainings. And apart from $1,115.52 to Embassy in June. It was my understanding that we were cutting travel expenses. And clarification on who these expenses were allotted for and the reason behind the travel, and perhaps a cost-benefit analysis of those expenses seems prudent. And I spent a good bit of time looking through the accounts payable that was listed online, and I do thank you for doing that. But I have noticed that we seem to be accruing a lot of expenses with a number of vendors that I'm not clear on, and that constituents have had concerns about as well. I noted one in the report, and I'll make sure you get a copy of it as well, and I have some, I made 20, so. Could you tell me what Wally's is by chance?
Wally's?
It was, yeah, that was a recurring expense. I noticed there was $13,238.04 in June, and I believe there were more of those. There were other vendors with similar or greater sums, and I'd like to talk with you about those as well. It seems that I'm
explain myself a little bit more
Okay.
detail. If I understand that my microphone wasn't working at the time
Okay.
also. Whenever I count, there are three people who we supervise. Or, definitely two of them, which is our clerk to council
Mhm.
and our county administrator, and we have our attorney on the county.
Yes.
Okay. Our clerk to council and our county administrator has to answer to five council members, okay? If there's a council member that is requesting something that another council member feels that they have an issue with,
What do you mean has an issue with?
they have an issue with what the request is,
Okay.
okay? If they do, then in order for that council person to get that request made, it'd be to their advantage to have, two other council members to go along with them to have that request made, because the person who you're asking for, if one councilman tells you one thing and another councilman tells you another thing, that's confusing. That's confusing.
I'm simply asking about, information for contracts or other, anything regarding.
That's any information that, cause a lot of times, many times, other council members don't know what it is that you're requesting. And this is the only time we have that opportunity to let other council members know what it is that you're requesting from people you supervise.
Okay, I mean, so were you saying that if I wanted information regarding any and all contracts, that were under, say, the PR firm, which I'm really asking about, that two other councilmen will have to ask those questions as well, or?
No, but if a council doesn't have any problems with it, then go forward with it. That's if a council person has a problem with it. The point that I'm trying to make here is that the citizen asks about transparency.
Okay.
And doing things, behind the scene is not transparent. But send out in the open what it is that you're requesting, not only that the council members know what it is that you're requesting from any of the people you supervise, but also the public have an idea of what you're requesting.
Okay, well, I mean, most of, any request that I've made, I've generally, done as a group email.
Okay, when you do group emails, that could constitute a illegal meeting, because you're communicating with all the council.
So you want,
If
let me clarify.
Let me just say this here. If you want to let each council person know about what it is that you're requesting, you either send it to, it'd be best to send it to each one individually.
Okay, can I interject? Those trainings that we go to, and they were clear from a legal perspective. You guys send me a request, I field your request, and I respond back, blind copy,
Yeah,
so it does not constitute a meeting.
I was gonna say, whenever I've had to respond, it's been, I've usually asked Roy
And I blind
and put
copy.
Altresia and or you on there, and then we're on a group email
Blind
after
copy.
that.
And I looked at the policies that we have on file for the county, there's nothing that speaks to the timeline. Returning information, I would recommend we set a timeline, 72 hours.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm pretty much asking for everything during my liaison report time, rather than email, because then we're already in open session. We get around any of those legalities. So I will be asking you for, information regarding the PR firm and, I've already asked you a number of questions. I did notice,
The PR firm information was included in that email I sent about a month ago.
yeah, you sent that on, I believe it was August 21st. At that point, it showed that we had not spent any money on a PR firm, is that still true?
That is correct.
Okay.
We paid for what's delivered. As you see, the Facebook page was reactivated, and a few other things that we're working on, rebranding and addressing the issues in the county. So we have a broader issue. Institutions and industry does not want to engage the county because of the rhetoric. We have to repair the image of the county. It needs to be done professionally, and that's what we're doing. You see the Facebook page reactivated, the branding of the website we paid for that.
Well, the reason I'm asking is,
It was, a $500,000 we owed to the school.
yeah, it's $500,000 a year,
We
yeah.
paid that.
Okay, the reason I'm asking that is, I remember this time last year, we started talking about the TAN, you just mentioned the TAN. It took a lot for us to get a TAN last year, and I have been very quietly concerned, about acquiring a TAN this year. Where are we on that?
We have our experts here that are supporting us through that TAN process, but we are pretty close to executing the TAN. RFP went out about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So, I actually sat with, some institutions to talk about the TAN.
Okay.
But, the TAN is moving along. Hopefully, we're looking to get it executed by the end of, this
So
month.
we have had some responses then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And,
Then that's-
and Wally's tired. Wally's, I got a text. That's from, the fire department.
Okay, that makes sense, okay. Their tires are very expensive, so
Yes,
that
they
makes
are.
sense. Okay,
They need their tires.
they certainly do, we wanna make sure they have them. LeVar, while I have you, regarding the structural chart that you put out, I noticed that there were, asterisks, noted, noting elected officials, and they fell underneath your purview. Could you explain that a little further?
Elected officials.
Falling under the purview of
They were going through department heads. So the more efficient process is that I meet with my elected officials to be able to have those conversations with them intimately. We also implemented meetings a little differently. Instead of having everyone in the room, we have meetings with our department heads. And then we have our meetings with our elected officials to talk about processes and procedures and get everything that they need. But, it's just a process of making it more efficient and streamlining their concerns where they can go directly to the county administrator versus going through a department head to get their needs met. Elected officials should not be having to go to the department head, they should talk to the county administrator.
That was
It's illegal.
really my concern was that,
It's illegal for us to do that.
yeah, that was exactly my concern, was I wanted to make sure that, things were not misconstrued there, where it seemed, I've had a number of constituents reach out to me, because they were concerned that it seemed as though, you were saying that those elected officials were going to have to report to you, and of course, they're elected officials.
Only folks who report to me is department heads.
That's
I
right.
work collaboratively with elected officials and I report to council.
Okay, well, I wanted to clarify that because I have gotten a number of constituents reaching out to me on that point.
Well, I wish constituents would reach out to me, and I'll be happy to field their concerns and their questions and work through any
Well,
comments that they have.
that's why I'm here to, to ask questions for the people, so. All right, anybody else? I've taken up a lot of time.
No, you're fine, let's ask you, do you have any more on your, review?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Mr. Williams?
No.
Councilman Williams? None at this time?
None of that.
Okay, Councilman James?
Yes, sir. While we're discussing transparency, I will ask interim, I hate to bring up, open up old wounds, but I have to do it to make a point. I would ask interim came in that we considered experts. And they were here for 9 months. The original RFP went out for us to find a company to vet, to find us an administrator. Because we were working on a succession plan at the time with Ms. Lewis being our interim. RFP was answered and closed by 3 other firms. One backed out, only one showed up. The MRB group showed up without answering RFP. They were invited by previous council members. It's clearly stated on our minutes, if you go back to that March 15th, around the March 15th date. Experience. Ms. Lewis laid out a plan for all recoveries that was copied and pasted by the so-called experts. They delivered nothing. The so-called experts, MRB, that everybody praised, left here and left us with a deficit of $540,000 in 9 months. Then I started hearing that when we hired Mr. Yeomans, he was hiring people to do his job. The so-called experts had a full staff here, CFO, assistants, and everything, and still spent $540,000. Mr. Yeomans, in 6 months, spent 54. Facts, we usually run a FOIA program here. Anything I'm talking about tonight, I ask my counsel to agree with me to give the facts on what I'm talking about to anyone that asks for it, not have to FOIA. Contract for MRB. Transparency. Mr. Williams and I were sitting here when they were hired. We both agreed to hire them to vet for a new administrator, which supposed to have taken 16 weeks. They took over as administrator with a $13,500 a month contract for a CFO and for administrator for 20 hours a week. And then came back and got a $6,500 bump on that for 8 hours more. Delivered nothing, copied and pasted what was left by Ms. Lewis. Transparency. When the contract was signed, do you remember a discussion about what the rate was, Mr. Williams? We didn't get that discussion. Contract was signed. I had to fight 3 months later to get that contract. Is when I learned it was $13,000 a month per person. Transparency. One wrong doesn't deserve another, but 2 wrongs don't make it right. But I'm for sure that we are transparent. Every document that I get, the rest of the council gets. If I request a document, please be sure to alert the council and give them the same document. I go a little bit further. I want to take my hat off and thank Ms. Margie Matthews for assisting us in the proviso, getting it approved by the state senate to assist us with our forensic audit. It's online, it's in the paper. State senate approves proviso to assist Hampton County in a forensic audit. Senate. Thank you, Mr. Hutto. Thank you, Ms. Matthews.
Thank you, Bill Hager.
Excuse me?
Thank you, Bill Hager. At that point, I was aide to the legislative delegation, as you may recall. As part of my duties in that regard, I aided Representative Hager in drafting a payment package request that was submitted to the South Carolina House in the amount of, I believe it was $225,000. And a proviso that was also put through the South Carolina House.
You have
And
documents?
lobbied, oh, I do.
I'm speaking on documents.
And lobbied, I'm telling you because I was there. And lobbied for, in Columbia, by both Representative Hager and myself,
forensic audit is not from Senate?
It was from the legislative delegation. The fact that
Yes,
it came
yes,
through the Senate.
It came through the Senate, because I know that's who worked on it.
Yeah, I mean,
If he worked on it, thanks to Mr. Haggard.
and I
But the
mean,
proof is shown in the paper. But we're going further from that.
I was gonna say, I spoke to Senate members as well.
Travel expenses. Travel expenses. As the administrator just said, the only way we're gonna get out of this rut that we're in, this rut we're in, it didn't happen overnight. It's 20, 30 years in the making. We're not gonna get out of it overnight. And the only way we get out of it is education. If we don't get educated on how to govern this body and not do it from what we feel, that was just shown, you have to get educated to do what we do and do it properly. Transcripts are out there. Any way you wanna check my expense account, feel free, cause I got documents to back it up. And I'm not gonna sleep anywhere that you won't sleep. So as far as saving the county money, when I'm educated, I learn how to. I don't know anyone in here walked in this building that wanna sit here, know how to do it, do business for this county, and not been in class or in government before. So if you wanna check travel expenses, check the proof of what it was spent for. Ms. Michelle,
Yes.
can I have you come forward, please? Can you please, ma'am? Can you please, ma'am, walk me through the budget and why there were cuts?
Okay, can everyone hear me? Okay. Good evening, council members, stakeholders, citizens of Hampton County. My name is Michelle Gaston. I am a contractor retired by the county to help the department heads, including elected officials, formulate and prepare their fiscal 2025 budgets, and I'm working now to execute those budgets. I want to talk a little about the 24 process, and then I'm going to segue into 2025. And it's important to understand the background because that influenced some of the estimates and the approved budget for 2025. In 2024, there was mention made of the MRB group, and that group was responsible for helping the county prepare its 2024 budget. There was no budget actually prepared. We ran out of time, so the 2023 budget was carried forward into 2024, and that's the budget that was executed. That's an important fact and background to have because that means that the department heads, neither elected officials nor the other department heads had an opportunity to say what their needs were for their departments. So they executed based on what they had, and there were a lot of disparities throughout, a lot of issues throughout the execution year because there was not enough money in certain places to pay for the services that were actually rendered and received. So for 2025, the county administrator wanted to give the department heads an opportunity to say what their needs were to run their departments and to provide citizens of Hampton County services. So that means that each one of the department heads was required to attend a workshop that allowed them to prepare their budget estimates, come before the county council, present those budgets, and then have the county council be able to ask questions about those budgets before the administrator made a recommendation to the council regarding what the 2025 budget should look like. And so that the residents understand the revenue, meaning the amount of money that Hampton County receives for different services, whether it's taxes, whether it's money coming from the state, whether it's grant money, that number has to equal what Hampton County spends in the general fund. So that means that if there is not enough money coming in, that reductions have to be made to the expenses so that those two things equal each other, because it's a mandate that revenue have to equal expenses before a budget can be approved. And that's an important point to make. So during the process, the department heads came forward, they identified all of their needs, and there were 2 or 3 different rules that were implemented during the preparation of the budget. Excuse me. There were certain costs that were going to be centralized in order to save the county money. even if the department has budgeted for something like electricity, office supplies, office equipment, postage, and vehicle repairs, those requests were taken out of each department's budget and centralized where it fit more naturally. In the case of vehicle repairs, those requests were centralized and moved to the fleet management department because that's the entity that's responsible for managing the vehicles and the equipment for the county. For electricity, postage, office equipment, and office supplies, those costs were centralized under the county administrator's office because they are more global in scope and they touch across every department in the county, therefore touching every resident in the county. So after the department heads came forward, they made their request, then a recommendation was made by the county administrator to the council to provide a certain budget number to each one of the departments. Pretty much across the board, there were reductions made to every department. The caveat was that the county wanted to keep paying the existing employees that it had on staff as of the date of the presentation. If there were critical hires in the pipeline, then those hires would take place. But pretty much all the other services were steady state, meaning there were no significant increases made across the board. And that's how we arrived at the 2025 budget that's actually available on the website. And I invite the citizens to go out there and look for the ordinance that's dated June 17, 2024. And there are about 55 pages attached to that ordinance. And those 55 pages include both the revenue, meaning the money that the county expects to receive during the year, and more importantly, the expenses. Because I want to talk about some of the departments that were mentioned specifically regarding reductions. When you look at safety, the first departments that come to mind are EMS, fire, the sheriff's office. The EMS department received the budget it requested. The only adjustments that were made to that budget were for the centralized services, vehicle repairs, office supplies, office equipment. And that is verified if you go out to the website and you pull up the ordinance itself, because the budget's listed out there. And what that ordinance also shows you is an audit trail. It shows you the actual expenses for each department for fiscal 21, fiscal 22, fiscal 23, and through June 4th of fiscal 24. It also shows you the readings, the amount of budget authority that was requested for each of the subsequent readings of that budget to get to approval. So you can see the history of the spending, you can see what the departments asked for, you can see what the first recommendation by the county administrator was. After the first reading, there were comments made about some of the reductions that were made. The team went back to the drawing board, struggled a little more. The county administrator was able to find some money, move it around to provide more money for some of the critical services in Hampton County. Those critical services being in the sheriff's office and EMS. So EMS received everything it asked for other than those things that are being managed elsewhere. Fire received a $64,000 increase in 25 above its 24 budget. Fire wanted more. It wanted $1.4 million, but that would have required a millage increase. So we did the best that we could to get them the $64,000 increase, with the caveat that we'll continue working with them during the year to see what adjustments can be made. Regarding the sheriff's department, sheriff unfortunately is one of the largest departments under the general fund, and when we looked at the tension between what the sheriff asked for, what the sheriff has spent historically, and what was available, the only amount that was available to the sheriff was about $2.7 million of the $3.3 that he asked for. Now, recognizing that in the sheriff's budget, there were also centralized services that were moved elsewhere. There was $188,000 that was requested to buy a vehicle. And I'm assuming for $188,000 that would have bought 3 or 4 cars. That was taken out because the county has implemented a fleet management program. So the sheriff will be able to receive some of the vehicles through that program. So there was no need to keep that money in his individual budget. Vehicle repairs, $72,000. That was moved out and moved to fleet management. And fleet management funds are being managed by John Root. We will shortly be realigning the equipment repair money as well. That only affects 3 or 4 different departments in Hampton County, but that money will also be centralized under John Root so that he can manage it. And the thinking behind the centralized management of the accounts is that the county will get a bigger bang for its buck by doing economies and scale and all those kind of things, and working with a select number of vendors to get the best price for all the services that it's actually buying. Regarding the other reductions in the sheriff's office, one once you take out electricity, take out postage, and you take out office supplies, that was another $70,000 or so. The total reduction that's housed elsewhere in the county, other than the sheriff's office, was a little over $300,000. So that means that truly the reduction to the sheriff's office is $325,000. But tough decisions had to be made, and part of the equation and part of the evaluation when you put in the budget together is look at historical spend. Historical spend, look at what the current mission is, look at what the new changes are that are gonna be made in the budget year before recommendations are actually made. The sheriff ended up with a budget of $2.7 million of the $3.3 that he asked for. That's $500,000 more than was spent in 2024. That's $500,000 more than was spent in 2023. That's $500,000 more than was spent in 2022. So all of those things were taken into account when the recommendations made. Now, to give the sheriff another $325,000 or so is gonna require a millage increase. And the mill for 1 mill in Hampton County equals a little more than $57,000. So that means a millage increase of about 6 or 7 mil. If you wanna restore the entire $700,000, even though some of that is housed elsewhere, that's gonna be a millage increase of 11 to 12 mils. Now, recognizing when this budget was done, that it's a snapshot in time and things change. Both of the department heads, whether elected official or department head, were told there are gonna be quarterly audits done. And we're coming up on the end of the quarter in 2 weeks, so the audits are gonna happen in October. During those audits, and these audits will happen every quarter until the end of the year. During those audits, each department head will have a chance to sit down with me, look at what the expenditures have been through the first quarter, look at the budgets related to those expenditures, and say whether or not they need a change. The change may be that I budgeted the wrong amount of money in the wrong place and I need to move some things around. The change may be some things have changed in my mission since we put this budget together, and I need more money than you give me overall. So that's when the county administrator will look across the county to see what's available that can be moved from elsewhere into that department's budget to make it whole. I clearly heard on June 17th, the council say, we want you to take another look at the sheriff's budget and see what else is out there. And the question was asked, do we have an opportunity to update this ordinance if there's more money that's found? And that's my mandate, and that's what I've been looking at for all of the departments across Hampton County since the ordinance was approved on June 17th. But the quarterly audit will be the first opportunity that everybody will have to sit down with me, go over their expenditures, and we look together to see if everybody's on the right track. If they are not on the right track, I will let them know at that time. I'll make recommendations to them about what things they will need to do to get on the right track. And some of it may be as simple as just moving money that they already have, and that's gonna be my first line of defense. Move what you already have internally and take care of yourself internally. In some cases, that is not possible, and I know that already. So that means that I have to look across the county to make recommendations to county administrative humans about what other adjustments we need to make, across Hampton County to make everyone whole. So that's pretty much where we are. Now, there were a couple of other accounts that I wanted to talk about because there's been some concern about contractual services in some of the administrative areas. So I wanna talk about the finance department, and I'm gonna talk about something called other administration. When you go to that 55-page ordinance, you'll see that there are 2 lines for administration. One says administration, the other says other administration / operating costs. Administration by itself are truly those costs that are just related to county administrator Human's office, because he in and of itself is a department head as well as the county administrator. Other administration / operating costs are those costs that are generic and cut across the entirety of Hampton County. So when I say the entirety, the Hampton County is an employer, so it pays for group health for all of its employees. It pays the employer share of Social Security. All of those kind of things that don't have a natural place in a single department are included under other administration. But there were some questions about the other administration budget related to contractual services. And as I mentioned, how this budget was formulated, part of the process is to look at your historical actuals and to look at what your spending is in the current year. At the time, the county administrator's budget was done, and his was one of the last that was done, and it was done in June. And the snapshot that we looked at was as of June 4th, because his presentation was made in workshop 6, which was the last one that was done. At the time his presentation was made, the amount of money that booked against contractual services was $295,000 against a budget of $46,000. And please remember, I said that the 2024 budget was never formulated. It was just moved forward from 2023 to 2024. The administrative or any of the department has never had an opportunity to say what they needed. So when I took another look today to see what the end of the year amount was over $361,000 that booked under contractual services and other admin. So that means that if you carry forward that actual number and you perform those same services in 2025, there's not enough money budgeted for it because $300,000 was the estimate that was provided for contractual services in 2025. But I want to talk to, and I have for the council, the charts to show what things are included under other administration. Because I think it's important to have everybody understand, as Councilwoman Knox was saying, in the spirit of transparency, what kind of things are included under other administrations. And of this $363,000, let me tell you what you have in your hand. What you have there is the spreadsheet, that's the worksheet that every department had completed during the 2025 budget process. And what this worksheet shows you is the name of the department, the actuals for 2021, 22, 23, the budget that was executed in 2024 that was never formulated, the actuals through June 30th, 2024, what the balance was that was left on the table. And I have a caveat about 2024 because the county is still closing fiscal year 2024. So that means that these numbers are the snapshot as of today, and these final numbers may change by the time the county finally closes the books on 2024. So when you look at the balance, then you look at the request. I highlighted on purpose contractual services to show the amount of money that was requested in the budget versus what was actually spent in 2024. And as you can see, there is a $61,000 difference between the budget in 25 and in 24. But I want to talk about what some of those costs are that are beneath this $361,000 that booked during the year. The second page you have is the general ledger detail. And this detail, and I will send this to you in English tomorrow, because this is the raw data coming out of the system. But I want to talk high level about some of the major costs and expenses that hit the books in 2024. You mentioned MRB before. They're listed here as Swiftwater Strategies, and the county pays Swiftwater Strategies $261,000 of the $361,000 that you see reflected as an expense under other admin in 2024. One of the other and the next largest expenditure was $26,000 to Truist. The third largest was $22,000 to Robert Half. So more than 72% of that $361,000 we spent was paid to Swiftwater Strategies.
So we could have paid for 2 full-time administrators with that salary?
More than 2, yes.
Okay.
And the budget staff that he needs. The reason why I'm here.
And that was done in 9 months.
Well, this budget was done in 3
Not a
months.
year.
This budget was done in 3 months. And I salute the department heads for really rolling up their sleeves to make sure this was done, because our mandate was to get this delivered on time so that it could be executed on time. And it was delivered and approved on June 17th, and it was executed starting on July 1st.
Thank you, ma'am.
What, another? One more. One more. Since you asked, Finance Department. This is the one, and County Administrator Newman and I are gonna talk, I'm sure, soon about this one. Because based on the actuals, he doesn't have enough money in that area, but he doesn't know that yet. So I'm gonna tell him soon that he doesn't have enough. So, there was a question asked also about contractual services, and as you can see, if you look at the finance budget, there was $1,000 list, there 2024 audit can be done and implemented and executed and prepared and submitted on time. So we had a contract for accounting services as well. There's no grant administrator for the county, and there's an active push to find additional sources of revenue for the county to relieve some of the stress so that some of the critical services can receive better funding. So that means that there needed to be a body in place in order to be able to find grant funding. So that person's not there either. So Mr. Humans has had a contract for all of those kind of services, and in the financial area, that's why this budget went up. But the auditing cost for 2024 was $242,000. That auditing budget was realigned and moved into finance from administration. And as you can see, there's only $250,000 listed here for the budget. So assuming auditing services remain the same, there's not enough money here in order to pay for that and his other financial needs. So he and I, once I tell him this, he and I are gonna sit down and have to figure out what to do about paying for an accountant and paying for budget services to continue, because there is not enough if we continue on the same trajectory with the accounting services which are critical to the county.
So is some of these services, contractor services he's using, was it left here from MRB? Did they hire the same services?
I don't know if MRB hired the accounting company that the county uses now or not. I know they did not, I know that MRB is not connected to the budget service, but that's me. So I have no connection with them. I'm not sure about the accounting services.
But when they were here, they had a finance director, grants writer, coordinator,
They probably did.
and he does not have that now.
No. And all I know is that when I came, I was told that there was no 2024 budget, put the budget together for 2025.
When you got here, was the budget complete? Was the audit complete? Or did you do that?
Me and the team will work through getting it done.
Thanks, sir. Keep up the good work, sir. I appreciate you.
I've taken a lot of time, I don't wanna take that much more, so do you have any more questions that you wanna ask of me?
No, ma'am. And I need to finalize my time with letting the people know I'm not being vengeful with no one. I can get along with everyone. But if we're gonna talk about some, let's talk about it all. And by the way, those emails was erased in Georgetown at a desktop at somebody's house at the wee hours of the morning in February.
Any more questions for me? Thank you all for your time.
Anything else,
No, sir, I thank you for your time, sir.
We're now on item number 12.3, county attorney's update.
I don't have anything for you, Mr. Chairman.
Attorney Solomon. 12.4, clerk's update.
Okay.
No, sir, I'll be working with Brevard just to, get some of the tools that I need before Molly goes on, maternity leave, but we'll take care of that.
We're now on item 13, administrative report. I will now turn it over to the body.
Good evening, council. Good evening, public. So, it's right there. Yes. So, for the public, the image that you see on the screen right now, you can see it at home. So when you log in and look at your YouTube video, it populates on your TV in your home. That's an update that we made from an IT standpoint, Bob. I really appreciate you, man.
I had fun. Pulled out a lot of hair, got a few gray hairs.
But we work with what we have to get things done. We are making some progress around some things to make it more communicative and transparent, or openness is a better word maybe we should use. I have an update, the voter registration space. So there was a voting session. We provided cooling stations to the voting space. I took took those pictures because I visited that space twice, once in the morning, once in the evening. It was semi-cool, but just wanted to report out, we did have those cooling stations available to those hard workers at that time. We're gonna have an EMS update from Ms. Tyler today.
Good evening, everyone. Tanisha Bryce Smith, Hampton County E911 Director, and I would like to correct that, it's gonna be an E911 update, not EMS. We have separate entities. wireless funds, they disperse it amongst every county in the state. So we get that revenue coming in. We also, if you have a water line or a landline or business line, we get monies from that, also monthly. Those funds can be used for certain projects within the 911 center, but I don't know what's in my account from that fund, and it's restricted for only use by the 911 department. So there should be a pot of money somewhere for our department that we can use monies from to help soften the blow to the county. Of course, the upfront cost for the CAD implementation will be hefty simply because of new technology coming into the center. However, it could be mitigated amongst shared costs from the detention center because they offer RMS, which is report management system. They offer CAD, which is what we use in the dispatch center, and they offer JMS, which is jail management system. With that, they are offering that to us at a cost of $180,000. Currently, for CAD only, we pay $154,000 a year. Long-term budget savings can be achieved by bundling all of our services with one vendor, based upon having multiple suppliers for different things, having one vendor that we contact for anything, and then the bundle of services would also cut down on costs. So to ensure continued effectiveness of Hampton County E911, I'm asking council tonight to go ahead and make a decision on us procuring this CAD contract ASAP, because it takes up to 14 months for implementation of a new CAD system. And again, I repeat, the end of Q4 2026, we have no CAD. So we're kind of behind the 8 ball right now. And the longer we wait on making that decision, the further behind we'll get. We need these technologies to help with life and health perseverance for the citizens of our county. So I'm asking you tonight to approve 2 additional seats in the 911 center, supervisory seats. They will cover shifts from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. That way we have supervisory coverage for day shift and night shift. Currently, with all supervisors working day shift, you really don't have that proper supervision for everybody in the center. Also, it will help to cut the burden of having the addressing put in on the 911 center. We'll have someone there to help alleviate that as well with implementing those supervisory positions. I ask that you expedite the procurement of this CAD contract, as I previously stated, and amend the E911 ordinance based upon the 80% reimbursements. Any questions? Councilman James?
I have 4 questions.
Yes, sir.
And Bruce, in your budget this year, did you budget to hire? Was it in the budget to
It
hire?
was presented in my budget, yes, sir.
It's not there, you spent it already?
No, it didn't get approved.
Say again?
That part didn't get approved,
It didn't get approved?
not for the 2 positions that I asked for.
Education process, where's the location of your education?
Some is online and some we have to travel for. It all depends on where the classes are held.
Was that in your budget?
Yes, sir, it is.
You still there?
Yes, sir.
Or you gonna use it?
We are planning to.
The cost of the contract for CAD, was it 180 or 150?
It's $154,000 as we stand right now.
And that wasn't in the budget?
It is.
It is.
That's what we're currently paying every year for CAD.
What's the?
Well, council, any amount of money we spend in this, we wanna present to you and let you know what's happening behind the scenes before we sign anything. And this is giving department heads the habit of presenting their business process, because they run a business and they do an excellent job. But in terms of transparency and keeping you guys abreast of spending and contracts, this is the process that this administration would take. Because there were some contracts I couldn't quite understand the signing of it. So this is Ms. T doing a great job, she does a great job, present to you her needs in a way that's open and collective.
So, are you, I know she's recommending that we, take action on this here tonight. Is that your same thought?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we will work through the invoices and getting this paid, in addition to all the other things we need to get paid, balancing it out.
Do we have dollar amounts? Could we have access to when could we have access to dollar amounts for exactly what you're asking?
Administrator Humans tomorrow, and I'll be able to give you a response tomorrow, because I wanna give him the exact numbers from the balance sheet to tell him exactly how much is out there, and then work through.
And that's a critical service, correct? Okay. So, right now, on amending that budget, we can't do it until we get that information.
But he will have it tomorrow.
Had to be done at the next meeting. Really?
Yes, except for the CAD contract, that has to be acted on.
I got you.
So the CAD contract is something that must be acted on now?
Yes, sir, the longer we wait, the further behind the 8 ball we become. For fourth quarter 2026, we're completely obsolete, and currently we are working without a contract for CAD, but we're still receiving the services.
And the money will become available to handle that, is what I mean from the administrator.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
That's good for me, you know. You gotta have that.
What are the month-to-month costs on that, I'm just curious.
It's not a month-to-month cost, it's just a yearly $154,000 a year,
154.
at 80% reimbursement from the state.
Okay.
You know how long the reimbursement takes?
Once I get the paid receipt, they usually get it to me within 3 to 5 business days.
Really?
But I have to have that paid receipt, so that means it has to be paid in order for me to get the money returned.
That's a no-brainer.
Wow, that's really fast from the state, we're impressed.
That's a no-brainer. And I do recommend get your people educated.
Yes, sir.
These trainings that you are taking, are they mandated?
But yes, sir, the EMD is mandated by the state, and we are currently not compliant in that area.
We have to sell cans to get your people educated as well.
So it's something that we can go ahead and vote on, because I don't want to
Yes.
keep the other stuff, kind of just go ahead and let's vote on this here and then we continue on.
Yes.
So, what is the, pleasure of council on this matter?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that, we approve the funding for the, E911 CAD.
Second.
A motion has been made and has been properly second. Any further discussion? All those who are in approval of it, show by raising your right hand. Anyone, opposed to it? Anyone abstaining? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Yes, sir.
Next update is the airport. There were, public comment in regards to the airport during the last session. So I asked Ms. Iglesias to walk us through as it relates to an airport update.
there's 2 long buildings, and there are 10 hangar spaces in each of those buildings. And then on the right, we have 2 fuel tanks, for different fuel types, then in our self-service fuel area. So as an update, you may or may not know, but the county received a USDA loan for construction of those 2 hangars you just saw. And that required a GO bond be issued as a security instrument. So the county had to issue that bond as a security instrument. So we got money from USDA, that's a loan, but we had to pledge our tax revenue in the form of this GO bond. So it affects our debt capacity. And that resulted in $59,999 tax interest deferred payments for the first 3 years. So this year was our last. We actually had to do an invoice due for that $59,999, and that's our 3rd year interest only. So what'll happen in August of 19th of 2025, now keep in mind that's fiscal year 2026, but it'll be due in August, and part of the requirements require that we give them our bank information so they can take that money automatically on a certain day each year, on August 19th each year. And it's for the next 30 years, so we'll have to make this payment for the next 30 years beginning August 19th. Now, this is a good picture. If you look at the top, this is 2014, and you can see, I don't know if you can see the red dot there, but where the hangars are now, if you look at the top, there's just a clearing there. There's some trees that had to be cleared to get the hangar project done. There was some damage after, I want to say, Hurricane Matthew, I believe is what I was told. And so you can see the little terminal building. There's a big tree stand there now, so you can barely make out the terminal building in 2014. But if you look at the 2024 picture, you see the parking lot and the terminal building in plain view there. So those parking lot improvements are recent as well. And then there was an old hangar that actually that's what the hurricane took out. There was like a really old hangar that had space for 2 planes, and that got demolished. So in 2020, in the 2014 picture, you can see that second little building, but in the 2024 picture, it's gone, and there's just a pad out there, kind of near the tanks, but a little bit to the east of the tanks. So a pretty dramatic difference from 10 years ago, and the new airport hangars have resulted in increased revenue in rents and fuel sales with no significant increase in operational costs, and I'll show you kind of what that means. I can't see that far, so excuse me. I've got my reading glasses on, so if you look at the sheet in front of you, there's some red lines pointing out the hangar fees. So before 2022, there were no hangar revenues to the county. And beginning in 2022, the county received just over $28,000 in revenue. That increased in 23 to $55,782, and we ended fiscal year 24 with $80,381. Now, Ms. Michelle mentioned that the books aren't totally final, but so that could go up a little bit, but that's fiscal year 24 actual revenues from hangar rents. And then just below that is fuel sales. You can see in 2020, fuel sales were just over $50,000. They went up to $74,000, and then in 2022 jumped to $106,000, more than double the 2020 number, and then dropped back down to $91,000 in 23, and then we ended fiscal year 24 at $124,667. And that is anecdotally at least attributed to the increased activity due to having planes parked out there. mind, before 2022, there were no planes out there. There might have been one or two planes, but now there's 22 planes. The hangars are completely full. They're completely rented as of this year. The last spaces were the large corporate spaces. Those are now full, so we are on a waiting list. In fact, that plane in that picture in the beginning, he's waiting for a hangar. So that's a good problem to have for the county. So the budget is going forward. We're trying to sort of pull out the operational cost and the operational revenue. So in the future, you can see this budget includes some grant monies and some things, but by the time we get to 2024, that's kind of dissipated, and I think that confuses the reporting a little bit. So going forward, we're gonna report out to the county council, our operational budget for the airport, and then for projects, we'll report that separately as a capital project. So we can really hone in on what exactly is the cost of operating the airport. So that'll help clarify some of the information that comes in the future. But we ended fiscal year 24 with $204,869 in revenue at the airport. So that begs the question, what about expenses, right? On the expense side, it's we have part-time personnel out there. It's not particularly expensive on the personnel side. And operationally, our biggest expense has been the cost of fuel, the cost of electricity for the terminal building, and then our debt service payment. So that $59,990 debt service payment, I made a note on your report that's gonna be increasing to $132,878 in August of 2025. And so if you look to the next, I did the math on the next slide, and this slide shows that for fiscal year 24, we had a deficit of $28,294. And when you add if nothing else changes between now and fiscal year 26, and we have to add that principal and interest payment on that USDA loan, then we're looking at a $102,684 deficit for fiscal year 26. So what we want to do is close that gap, right? We want to get the airport to a self-sufficient enterprise fund status. And what you don't see in that report is ad valorem tax on the airplanes. And we are currently reviewing the possibility of taxing the airplanes that are occupying the hangars. There are some complicated rules around how and when and to what capacity we can tax them, but I've been in conversations with our auditor to try and get to whether or not there are some opportunities there. She did send me a report that we went from about $200 in taxable revenues pre-hangars, and where last year we collected about $5,000 in, and that was on 3 or 4, I want to say 4 airplanes. And so that would probably go up some. It may not be a lot of money, but it's not currently shown in that report. So the goals moving forward is to operate the airport as an enterprise fund, try and make it self-sufficient so that it's not a burden on the general fund. And I'll be working with the airport commission to create a strategy to get us there. We want to be transparent about the status of the airport, and what that means is when we budget going forward, we're going to show funds into the general fund if we're operating at a surplus, or if we're not operating at a surplus, then we'll have to show funds transferred from the general fund to the airport. And then we want to continue to work we want to continue to work towards NIPIAS have been done to work towards that goal. So the airport is an asset for the county. It's no doubt an economic development asset. The question is, you know, how do we utilize it and leverage it for economic development? And so that's what these things that have happened is intended to, you know, sharpen our tool, the airport being a tool in our economic development toolbox. These projects and getting NIPIA status is a way of sharpening our tool and making it effective. And so these three requirements here set us on a path towards NIPIA's eligibility. And once we achieve that, we become eligible for FAA funding, which includes a $150,000 annual entitlement check, as well as eligibility for capital project grant funding, which is typically funded at 90% by the federal government, 5% by our state, and then 5% local by the local government. Sometimes it's an 80% match, and the state might cover 20 or an additional part of that. But significant amounts of money to continue to develop the airport and help attract economic development opportunities. So what was done and what we'll continue to do is account for the airport as an enterprise fund. That's one of the requirements to get to NIPIA's eligibility is to account for it as an enterprise fund. And so the report that I showed you helps us get there, but like I said earlier, we're gonna hone in on operational reports and capital projects as a separate accounting report, and that'll help us towards our NIPIA status goal. The hangar space was a big project to help get NIPIA's qualified because they require at least 10 or more hangar spaces. And so now that that has been done, we can check that one off of our list. And then the third one is because we're within 30 miles of a federally funded airport, which is the Allendale Airport, and we're also within that to the Walterboro Airport, we have to basically seek a waiver from NIPIA's and demonstrate a special use for this airport. And we've initiated some conversation with Ms. Peoples about the use of this airport during coastal disasters. So there have been activities staging emergency responses at our airport for Beaufort County in particular, but we are here and available for other coastal counties if they have to fly in resources to Hampton that then can be transported on the ground to other places that are in need in a disaster. So our consultants believe we can make the case for NIPIA's now that we have the enterprise fund accounting, the hangar, and some demonstrated special use criteria in emergency management. And so we'll continue to work. The intention at this point is to continue to work with our commission and our consultants on pursuing NIPIA's. And
Could I ask a question really quick about the airport and the NIPIA's
Yes.
Eligibility? Does that eligibility further obligate us to expenses in the form of constant improvements that to maintain that eligibility?
not that I'm aware of, we wouldn't have to pursue a 5,000, feet linear foot landing strip.
That was one of the first questions.
Right,
Yeah.
it wouldn't require us to do that. If that's part of our master plan and that's the policy that the council adopts, then staff would pursue that, but I'm not aware of any NIPIA's requirement that would say you have to become a 5,000, linear
For
foot.
any other improvements that might be costly that you're aware of?
And that would be set.
It's my understanding that
Excuse me, I'm sorry. As far as security goes,
Yeah.
there may be some improvements with security that would be attached to federal funding or to maintaining that status.
Do we have a projected cost for that yet?
No, I'm just saying, that's
Okay.
something they could impose.
That makes
Because
sense.
to be work with the commission to get an answer to that question, and also with our consultants, because we do have an objective expert, and, they're able to provide us with comparable rates in other markets and in nearby markets, but similar markets, you know, even outside of, you know, South Carolina. So we will, you know, in an effort to close that gap and make it solvent, we'll be looking at hangar rates and fuel prices, and we wanna be competitive, but we also wanna make sure we get the airport to a solvent place.
The other thing, the last thing I wanna make, comment on is the regional emergency management, stationary. I know that we have the National Guard Army Fires, National Guard, and I know one time we was talking about using it for emergency purposes for when there is a disaster or whatever, that they can use our airport to bring supplies in, you know, in and out, and any type of medical, supplies, whatever. Which, I'm thinking it will fall in that category, I would think. It will fall in that category to help us to qualify for that.
Yes, sir. One of the questions I had was whether that armory is being, is it occupied by the federal government, or is it available to the county to be a regional emergency management disaster staging area, and we could make it available to Charleston, Beaufort, Jasper, Chatham County, Fuller, you know, whoever needs a space away from the coast in the midst of an emergency. So, I know there is some precedent for the federal government, or is it a federal army, is it a state army, of transferring those buildings over to local government. So there may be an opportunity there. But we're already doing it, and our consultants think that the activity, that we've already engaged in terms of regional emergency management, will be enough to get over that waiver or that special criteria that we have to demonstrate because of our distance to other federally funded airports. But, it's a great thought. Being right next to the airport just lends itself to a really good opportunity. And we could be, central command for, you know, in case of an emergency, we can really be there for our neighbors in that way. So what we intend to do regular reports, especially around budget time, to get you an update on the regular basis, and I'll be working with our commission, to strategically try and address some of the issues that you were presented with tonight. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Chris, appreciate it, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. That reflects some of the realignments in the org chart, where we have someone specifically focusing on economic development within the county. And it's a blessing to have Chris, who's a lawyer and, has background in planning and economic development. I won't belabor you much longer because it's late, so I'll try to go fast, but I think I wanna kind of get this in front of you. You guys hired me to put a plan together, and one of the things that I kind of socialized with you in executive session is the strategic planning process ensures Hampton County operates with a proactive, clear, and results framework enabling sustainable growth and development. By envisioning the future, enacting strategic initiatives, and continually evaluating progress, the county is setting the stage for long-term success and improved community outcomes. And when we look at this image here, envision, we define the vision, we incorporate stakeholder input, and we align our goals. To enact encompasses taking action, allocating resources, project management, and evaluating, measuring progress, data-driven decisions, and continuous improvement. One of the things that we did a couple months that we had a strategic planning retreat where we asked questions a little I've done is I've taken those components of that discussion to create strategic goals, but also SMART objectives to drive towards that. What does that mean for us? So there's about 59 objectives that we've identified. That includes audit findings and other findings that we have either ignored or chosen not to address. So what I've done, I've put a plan, and I'm gonna have a few special meetings. I'm gonna ask you guys to prioritize those objectives, to tell me what to do in terms of the priorities for moving the county forward. So what I've done, I've taken the liberty to drop in the mission statement that came out of that retreat, right? That piece right there, we have to finalize what that vision looks like. We have to finalize what the vision statement is. But at that retreat, we identified 5 goals: optimize resources for financial stability, develop communication and education plans, make Hampton County a beacon of prosperity and community spirit through leadership and vision, improve the culture, and improve economic development. That's the goals that you identified, you guys identified. So what I'm gonna do, I map those objectives back to your goals. So to be clear on what a goal and what an objective is, goals are achievable long-term and broad. Objectives are specific on the day-to-day of getting things done. So for 5 strategic goals are supported by 28 objectives. I know that's kind of small, but just wanted you guys to see the various tasks with limited staff on a daily basis, some of the things that we are working through and working on. Goal 1, I'll give you an example: optimize resources for financial stability. Related objectives that we map to that we've identified is develop a plan to distribute navigation for financial stability, increase grant writing, implement the debt consolidation, develop plan for optimizing existing economic resources. Goal 2, developing communication and education plans. Improve the website. We found out that we paid for improvement to the website, right? They were just waiting on us to upgrade. So what we're doing, we're leveraging that to make that website a lot more user-friendly, where customers can access information, and it could be just a little cleaner across the board. Develop training and continuing education, which we talked about today. Education and training is absolutely important for us to move forward. We started with providing information to the public as to what we have going on in the county. So you'll see press release and information dumped onto the website in addition to Facebook. Make Hampton County a beacon of prosperity and community spirit through leadership. So what were some of the objectives that I identified that would map back to that? Initiate forensic audit, improve fiscal accountability, improve community improvement. I've reached out to a few community members. Hopefully I'll hear back from them, but the goal is to sit down with community members and have an intimate conversation of how we move the county forward collectively and move past some of the constraints that we have traditionally been hurdles. Increase infrastructure improvements. Goal 4, improve the culture. That's what we're doing now. Enhancing employee retention and development, leveraging technology and innovation, promoting financial responsibility and transparency, and strengthening relationships with communication. That's Chris, that's Ms. Ty, presenting to you guys our business that goes on in the day-to-day, in a very transparent way, so we can all understand what we're working on in the county. Goal 5, improve economic development. So that means increased support for small businesses, increased support for Chamber of Commerce. So Chris really working on those pieces to flush it out and move some of those things forward. Going kind of fast for the sake of time, but just wanted to get you an idea. Objectives are accomplished through a variety of tasks, sample projects, some even test projects to see how it works for the county. We have 19 or 152 active tasks are urgent that we're working on right now. And I'm happy to sit in more detail to kind of walk you through some of those things individually if you have time. 18 active high priority tasks on a daily basis that the team is working through on. From an IT standpoint, in progress, the website we've talked about it a couple times tonight. We budget visualization, you'll see, the budget presented a little different through Power BI, ongoing development of IT policies, standard operation procedures. Closed IT tasks consist of, a lot of the things that we identified that were problems, SOPs. You know, we had folks having access to county emails that's left the county 10 years ago. You know, just working through a lot of different things to make it more efficient in addressing a lot of issues that were unaddressed. A lot in progress, that's with IT, so finance, we give you a finance update. Finance update, forensic audit has kicked off. We're probably about a couple months into it. E.D. Bailey is the firm that was identified by the state. We did submit the initial round of information to the firm. We're working through submitting some additional documentation as it relates to meeting minutes dating back to all the way, I think, 2016. That's taken a little bit, but team is scanning and sending that information over to the forensic audit firm. That which you see right there is a high-level report out from E.D. Bailey as it relates to activities, milestones, and estimated completion dates. The CPTS audit, just a quick update. The objective is to negotiate a fair and feasible repayment plan that accurately reflects the county's financial position and current fiscal realities. So that's an ongoing discussion that we're having, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that in executive session later this evening. Annual audit hasn't been done on time in about 20 years. We're on pace to get it done this December. We've already engaged Martin Jenkins to start in November, but the team is working furiously to address trial balances and audit field work, FY24 budget recollections. In addition to, we are drafting the manual that's also been asked for the past two audit findings, a manual that structures the finance department. Policy updates. I handed you guys about, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 or 7 policies. What I'm asking you to do is take a look at those policies, review those policies, and provide your feedback. Those policies consist of FOIA requests, fleet management plan, annual fiscal reporting, credit card use, social media comments, and social media use. Can anybody tell me how many cars we have in the county?
Okay.
How many cars do we have in the county?
How about that? Yeah, I think it's about 130 something.
How many cars do we have insured in the county? That's insurance on the county. Because I'm just asking, because we put the fleet management plan, we had to ask a lot of questions about our current state. We have 181 cars in the county.
Insured.
Insured. 181. We need a fleet management plan. We need to centralize the process because 181 cars is a lot of cars.
How much it cost?
We pulled insurance. Well, we pulled insurance for cars, buildings, and heavy equipment. We pay about $500,000 a year.
LeVar, could you tell me, are all of those cars operational, or are we carrying insurance on cars that we are not using?
We're going through that right now.
Okay,
I'm having trouble getting that information.
I understand that.
My thought is, I point to some land and I say, hey, give me my cars here by the end of the day so I can do a proper inventory of the cars. That's why we have a fleet management team, because we need to take inventory of the cars to see where we're at. It doesn't make sense to deliver cars, new cars, with bad behavior. We have to do a better job of managing the cars. The fleet management policy that you guys have before you speaks to that. It speaks to the fleet management team being empowered to do their job and manage the budget effectively. That also bleeds into risk management. Saves us money, saves us costs, right? I'll stop. I know it's been a long night, but see if you guys have any questions.
Questions?
And the one thing about this presentation to the public, I know I went fast, but you can go back and
Committee